At the very bottom of your virtual shop preferences, you can see that it says to customize your external calendar for online booking, go to Calendar External. So we're going to jump up into this calendar tab in here, and you'll see right up at the top there's internal and external. So your internal calendar is, of course, the calendar that is within your Able, the one that you are interacting with. External is any calendar that your customer will be interacting with. And of course, there's multiple places where your customers can interact with calendars in here. The one that we're going to be talking about today is the virtual shop, but you can also activate this for proposals, payments, and approvals. We'll cover this in a different video. So first, you're going to want to make sure that this is checked on for your virtual shop if you want to allow customers to book via your virtual shop. Keep in mind, you can turn this off, which basically means that your virtual shop then becomes more of a lead generation platform where all they would be filling out would be the services that they're interested in, their contact information, their vehicle information, and then they're submitting that to you. But if you want to also allow them to select an ideal day and time, then you would turn on the virtual shop in this external calendar. Now let's go ahead and talk about some of these preferences. So you can see this first one here. Customers must book a job at least 0 days in advance is what it says now. So this means that customers would be able to book same day appointments. If you do not want that, then you should bump this number up. This would be, they would need to book at least 24 hours in advance. This would be 48 hours in advance, and so on. So you would set this to be whatever you would want to be based on when you want customers to be able to book. Keep in mind, this is still going to take into account what is already in your internal calendar and block things off appropriately based on this next preference that we'll be talking about. But this is just assuming if you have the available space, how soon could a customer book? This next preference down is a really important one. This is setting what we would call your job threshold. How many jobs, based on the space that you have at your shop or based on the staff that you have out in the field, how many jobs can you handle simultaneously, not just within the span of one day, at the same exact time? So if you have the space and the staff to be able to accommodate a couple different jobs, then you can bump this number up to whatever that would be. If instead you really just want your external calendar to be blocked as soon as there's one job or event out in your internal calendar in a certain time slot, then you can just set this to 1, and as soon as somebody is booked in some time slot, now nobody else can book during that time slot. Again, this does not apply to the entire day necessarily. This is just for the specific time slot that that job is going to take up. If you're a larger shop, then this allows you to continue to book to capacity depending on how much space you have. Now down below is where you get to choose which times on which days get displayed. So you can see down here, I just have a few spaced out in here. But the way that this is structured out is really up to you. I would say common things that we see here would be every hour on the hour throughout the day. Again, these are really just starting at times that the customer is going to be booking, and then the end time of that appointment will be based on the estimated duration of the services. We'll talk about that in another video. So if you want to give your customers lots of options, then I would say doing something like this would be a great way to go. Keep in mind, you don't have to select every single time in here to have them all displayed. This can be really overwhelming from the customer's point of view because now they have so many different times to select from. You can make it much more simplified by just choosing every hour on the hour or maybe every half hour. It's really up to you, but you want to try to make this simple for your customer as well. Another common thing that we've seen in here is for businesses that have everybody drop off first thing in the morning and they just work on those cars throughout the day. So you might see something that would look a little bit more like this, where the only time slot they have selected, we'll just pretend I don't have any of these selected down here, would be first thing in the morning. So they have everybody drop off at 8 a.m. Maybe they know that they can handle, 4 jobs throughout the course of that day. So 4 people can pick this time slot on each day. They work on those vehicles all throughout the day, and then customers pick them up at the end of the workday. If that's how you operate, then you're more than welcome to just set this up with one available start time that they would all select from. We've also seen similar things with having maybe a morning slot and then an afternoon slot. So they can either pick 8 a.m. or 12 or 8 a.m. and 1, and then that gives the customer a little bit of wiggle room with the options that they have. Coming back to selecting something like every hour on the hour, or even more specifically with every half hour or every 15 minutes, keep in mind that this is still going to be taking into account the estimated duration of the services. So for example, even if you have all these times selected, let's say that somebody books a 3-hour job at 8 a.m. That means that the next time slot that would be available, if you had this up here just set to 1, as in it's already going to block off that time slot, the next available time slot wouldn't be until 11. So even though you've selected all of these, they're all going to be disabled because now there's a 3-hour job that's going to be spanning from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. So now 11 a.m. is the next available time slot. When it comes to the end of your day, again, you want to think about this in terms of available start times. So when is the latest start time that you would want a customer to select? If you have certain appointments that can be booked that are really short, then you might want to take this up right towards the end of your day here, because this is also going to take into account the estimated duration. And the logic that we have built in here is if the estimated duration of the service or services that the customer is booking via your virtual shop is less than the duration of your operating hours, which is something that you set up over in your internal calendar down in this time range section. So you can see this here is 10 hours. These are 10 hours of my operating hours. So now if a customer were to book via my virtual shop and their service was going to take, let's say, 8 hours, the system is built to where if it can fit within one business day based on your operating hours, it's going to force the customer to book at a time that would ensure completion by the end of your operating hours, which means that the latest that a customer would be able to book an 8-hour job in my calendar here would be 9 a.m. because 9 a.m. plus 8 hours would be 5 p.m. If they wanted to book it at 10 a.m., it would not let them. If instead the customer was trying to book, let's say, a 12-hour job, that exceeds the duration of my operating hours, which means that now, no matter when that customer would book, it's going to wrap into the next day because that exceeds my operating hours. So now we let the customer book that at any time. Whether they book it at 8 a.m. or 4 p.m., it's going to wrap into that next day. So then that becomes unrestricted for them. So with all of this in mind, select the days and times that you would want to be displayed. And of course, if you have any questions on your virtual shop scheduling preferences, please reach out anytime.